every inch of crushed up diamond embedded in it. It's like diamond bit rope. And they run thousands of feet of this stuff through this massive pulley system and turn it into essentially like a big bandsaw. Alright, and the cuts that you get, you'll have to check out these pictures. I got to take to the side of the bus here. And if you would like to look at this wire saw section, it's right here on the top of this cone. You're welcome to pick it up and look at it. But take a look at the picture on the right, or on the left, I'm sorry. And what you're looking at is his left arm sticking out. So this is his pointer, middle, ring, and pinky. And a lot more has been done since this picture was taken. It just shows a really good example of what the saw cuts do. Now, all these long, straight, smooth cuts that you see on the top of his pointer finger and all of his knuckles and hand were all done with this wire saw. We can't do rounded cuts, so we have to do multiple straight cuts to get that rounded surface, and you can see that reflected here in this picture. We can also remove really large sections of rock, like we removed the whole top 5-foot layer of his arm in basically just a few cuts using this wire saw. So it's extremely versatile. It's really come in handy to get everything closer to finished grade, a lot faster and a lot safer than blasting. And because of this wire saw, we actually haven't done a blast since Veterans Day of 2015. We have not had to, and unfortunately we may not have to for a long time. So don't hold your breath, but definitely keep your fingers crossed. So now we get everything rough cut out using that wire saw, and then we come back over it with a finishing process. And right now this finishing process only applies to his face because it's the only thing that you can see from right here that is 100% finished at the moment. But we will do this for the rest of the mountain before it's all said and done. So the way we get that smoothness and all that detail you see in his face is with a torch. It's a torch. Excuse me, it's a torch that gets up to 3,800 degrees. It literally melts the rock on contact. And what we do is we just sweep that flame over that rock really quickly, and you get left with this perfectly smooth, glossy glaze finish that you see on his face. We're able to sculpt out all that defined detail that you see in his eyes, nose, and mouth. And it's probably the most beneficial thing that we could do, because by hitting it with that torch, you're melting that rock, and at the same time, you're sealing every crack, fracture, and seam mark. And that's beneficial because of all the snow that we get in this area, especially when it starts transitioning from hot to cold, cold to hot. When the warmer days melt the snow into water, that water seeps into fractures, and that night refreezes and expands and creates larger fractures. It's a progression that you obviously do not want to happen. So to prevent it, we hit it with that torch and we seal everything off to the point where it's not even a concern. All we really worry about is surface erosion, and they estimate that it takes 10,000 years for 1 inch of granite to erode. So it's not a huge concern, but still a concern, right? Let's see, if you're standing in the right spot, about 60-70 feet out on top of this rock that you can see through the trees right here, on the top of it is a little white post. If you can't see that one, if you follow these power poles to your left, there's another little white post on the hill down there. There are 13 of these little white posts that surround this entire mountain. And there are mounts for this laser system that will scan this entire mountain from all 13 points. And it generates a 3D model of the mountain in our computer. So we can take the scan that we've done of the mountain and compare it to a scan that we've done of a 1 in 300th scale model of what the finished mountain will look like. It's this really small statue. We scan that statue, blow that scan up 300 times, and then lay it on top of the scan of the mountain, and it tells us what rock needs to be removed. It simplifies it down to that. So as technology progresses, it is only making this job easier. Alright, which is really starting to speed things up, which leads into the question of when. The most commonly asked question is, when is it going to all be done? And the best answer I can give you for overall completion is it'll be done on a Tuesday, and I have no idea what Tuesday. Alright, there are just way too many variables that play into this whole thing. It's an outdoor job, you can't control the weather. You know, we're a 501c3 nonprofit, which means we run off of the ticket sales that you guys paid for coming through that front gate, and then private donations from good people like yourselves, and that's it. There's no federal or state funding that comes into this place. So, for example, if a pandemic shuts us down, there's no money being brought in to continue to pay employees, buy equipment. It's going to slow things down and eventually come to a halt, and you cannot account for things like that. So, since we can't give you extremely accurate overall timelines, we just make short-term goals that we know we can meet. Right now we have a 5 to 10 year plan set up. So Crazy Horse's face is already finished. That was finished in 1998. So that aside, in 5 to 10 years, you should see total completion of Crazy Horse's entire hand, his entire arm, the whole top of a horse's mane, Crazy Horse's right shoulder that you see facing us, and then 40 feet of hairline flowing back on both sides of his head. is in 5 to 10 years. Hand, arm, top horse's mane, right shoulder, 40 feet of hairline on both sides of his head. 5 to 10 years. After that, they're going to start on the horse's head on this front side of the mountain that you can see that white outline of. Now we just paint, that's just regular old white paint we put on there, just kind of give you guys an idea of what you're looking at and envision it a little bit easier of what's to come. Now they're thinking that it may take another 5 to 10 years to complete that horse's head, but anything beyond this initial 5 to 10 year plan is pretty much just a guess, because you don't know what technology is going to look like at that point when they go to start it, or where we'll be at financially. We may hopefully have a larger crew by then. They are in the works of trying to get a second 15-man crew to start working on this thing and cut all those timelines in half. So hopefully that happens here pretty soon. You just find an issue finding people to get on this crew, because there's not mountain carvers running around all willy-nilly. They don't exist. They don't teach mountain carving in any technical school, so we basically have to bring people on one at a time, put them on a probationary period, and determine, are you looking for a job or are you looking for a career, because we don't want to waste our time teaching you everything if you're just going to end up leaving.